been more warnings about the impact that artificial intelligence...
The world's toughest restrictions on some tech companies.
There's something that changed in the field of AI in 2017.
On us, dude. Well, if there's like that thing.
I think AGI will be the most powerful technology humanity has invented.
We are one or two events away from living in the Stone Age.
We are not alone.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Last year, I frequently found myself stuck in a rut, over-consuming, overthinking, and struggling to find my creative voice. And I think part of that was caused by spending too much time indoors and online. So this year, I decided that while the rest of the world is becoming more intertwined with new technologies and altered versions of reality, I wanted to break away from all of that. I figured it was about time I did something to clear my head and turn things around. I needed a break from the virtual world and an adventure in the real one.
Okay, the sun is up and I can actually start recording stuff now. I'm trying to get my brain into vlogging mode. So the plan today is me and a friend, sort of in need of a bit of a day out of the normal routine, have decided to walk from my house near Leicester to his house near Ashby, which is going to be somewhere in the region of 50 kilometres. So we're walking an ultra marathon, and there's not really much of a plan beyond that. Document the story of it and see if I can make something out of it, video wise, I guess.
What are you hoping to get out of this today, do you think?
I'm hoping to burn enough calories to have a real big dinner.
I think we're probably quite likely to burn somewhere in the region of 7,000 calories today, 5,000 for the walk and then your standard 2, which pretty much means for the rest of the week you can kind of eat what you want, which is quite cool.
In principle, there was nothing special about what we'd decided to do. It was as simple as two blokes going for a long walk in their local area. When it comes to doing something adventurous, most people probably think of activities such as climbing mountains or skydiving. It's unlikely that walking down the canal paths and public bridleways of Leicestershire ever springs to mind. But as simple as it may seem, stepping out of your front door with only a rough plan and seeing where the day takes you can be as good a way to have an adventure as any. I'd had the idea to do a 12-hour walk for a while. A couple of years ago, I listened to a podcast where the guest was a guy named Colin O'Brady. This is a man who has done a lot of crazy stuff. He's a 4-time world record holder, and one of those records is that he is the first person in history to ever complete a solo, unsupported, human-powered crossing of Antarctica. He would get up each day and push a sled with all his equipment for 12 hours, alone. Which to me sounds awesome, but also horrible at the same time. But he felt that this benefited him so much that he wrote a whole book about it, encouraging others to try the 12-hour walk for themselves. Now, anyone that's watched this channel before knows that I love a challenge, so when I initially listened to that podcast, I knew that this was something that was going to have to go on my list of things to do. But taking on a challenge wasn't the only reason that I was doing this.
So I've got a couple of things I want to get out of today. First one is I just wanted a day without internet. I guess I've been a little bit sick of how my routine gets and how often that ends the day with me just sat in front of my computer, wasting time on YouTube. Sometimes I'm genuinely just getting on with things that I need to do also online, but I don't know, I just feel like I need a break every now and then. There's also a challenge element to it, I guess, because we're walking a long way. I'm not expecting it to be the toughest thing I've ever done, but we're like not quite a third of the way through and my legs are actually a bit achy. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I guess we'll see as the day develops. The other thing I'm trying to do is recharge my creative batteries in a more healthy way, because I feel like a lot of what I do is I'll go through, and I did this last year, I went through like a cycle of I'd watch a load of a certain YouTuber that I really like, you know, different ones. Then I'd start trying to make videos that kind of weren't ripping them off, but were very much in that person's style. And then I'd 2 videos in, have a little crisis of identity and think, oh no, I'm not making videos the way I want to. And then I'd end up making, Dickie, you said this, didn't you? I'd make like the same video, like over and over again, where I was like, I need to make a change. Things aren't going right. And I made that video about 3-4 times last year. And I think I just need to take a different approach this year and actually just get outside, find my own groove and not fill my head with too much of what other people are doing, as good as it might be. So that's kind of also what today's about.
Originally, I was going to take on this challenge alone, pretty much following the exact parameters set out by Colin O'Brady in his book. But given the size of the route I'd picked out, I was actually really glad for the company. I spend a lot of time sitting with my own thoughts anyway, probably more than the average person does. This was more about, yes, taking on the challenge of covering a long distance, but also just getting away from normal life, taking a break, disconnecting from the online world and how entrenched it's become in everything that we do. I'd recently ran my first ultra marathon, so in my head, I'd already written this challenge off as being far easier. After all, it's only walking, right? Walking's easy. At least that's what I'd told myself leading up to the day, but as per usual, I'd underestimated the task at hand and I was about to have a reality check.
We're at about 20 kilometres, so 40% of the way done. To be honest, I'm shattered already. I didn't really eat right last night and I think I'm suffering for it a little bit. That's kind of making it a little less enjoyable than I conceived in my head that it was going to be, but it's part of it, right? I've got to try and just get past that and focus on what we're doing. But I am finding it actually quite difficult right now. Yeah.
Despite my fatigue, after 5 or 6 hours with my phone on airplane mode, I noticed how quickly I was starting to feel less bothered about checking my messages or notifications. Don't get me wrong, I still felt a little tempted, but I wasn't at the usual disadvantage of being stuck in my own head. For the first time in a while, I was completely present, just enjoying being outside in an area that too often I take for granted. I drive past these places regularly. I see them all the time, but they're so familiar to me that it's been a while since I actually reflected on what a privilege it is to live somewhere like this. Most parts of the UK are not dramatic or glamorous, but these places have a different kind of beauty. They're quiet, understated, full of their own obscure pieces of local history, and that was everything we needed to clear our heads for a day.
I'm feeling better now. I feel like I'm starting to enjoy it, which at the start I wasn't, because 4 miles in, my legs were already starting to hurt a bit, and in my mind I was like, you've got to be kidding me, like we've got 50k to do. But what I like about things like this is that all the boring stuff that I'm procrastinating over back in my normal routine, I'm actually now quite looking forward to sitting down and doing just the boring stuff, because my legs are tired and it's going to feel nice to sit down. And I feel like all of this just helps clear your head. You get out and do something difficult like this and it puts it into perspective in a weird way, which is kind of nice. But we've got something like 12 miles left, so better push on a bit because it's going to start getting dark soon, I think.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how tired are you?
Mentally fine. In fact, I'm fine completely, apart from just those last couple of hills. Legs started to ache a little bit, but we've had to sit down. Bit of a refuel. I think we'll be all right for the next push.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think I was feeling it coming up those hills a little bit, just climbing over the gates as well. We had to climb over a few gates because we were all padlocked, which I'm not 100% sure we're supposed to be coming this way, but there's no one here. But yeah, feels good to have had a sit down. I don't know if I'm mentally... My brain's going. So we're now in the penultimate town, which is Colville. And I think some wear and tear signs are starting to show. My brain's still going. Dickie's dealing with a blister. So I think we're going to pop into a co-op, I think we're going to pop into a co-op and get some
refreshments.
I can't do it. I can't speak.
Can you cross?
We're going to get some supplies.
As we passed through my old hometown, we hit the marathon mark, 42.2 kilometres. What we hadn't yet realised though was that I'd overshot the distance when I planned the route out by quite a bit. We actually still had over 7 miles to go. And those 7 miles were the toughest.
both had enough now. I think we're at 50k, you know, but we've still got a mile or two to get to Dickie's house. It has to be done, but it doesn't feel great, if I'm honest. We are finally in Ashby. It turns out walking can be hard, but we've just got to walk up a hill now and then we're there. That's it. I'm so relieved that this is almost over. This has been far more challenging than I anticipated. What a day. We can see the house. Thank goodness. I'm so done. I can't believe how done I am. Honestly, I thought I ran this the other day. Like, won't be that bad. This is worse. This is way worse. This amount of time. Oh, thank goodness we're done. There it is.
Here we go. Ah, yes. Through the ribbon. Oh. Oh man.
If I'm honest, immediately after we'd finished the walk, I wasn't feeling that great. I was happy at what we'd achieved, but as soon as we stopped moving and sat down, it was like all of our muscles just gave up. My mind and my body just went into shutdown and I felt awful. I could barely walk. But then being on the go for what ended up being over 14 hours will do that to you, I guess. I think for me, the main thing I've gained for this is that it served as a bit of a reminder of who I am and what I actually want to be doing with my time. And by extension, how I actually want to approach things when it comes to creative stuff like filmmaking, music, or whatever else. It's obviously fine to take influence from others that you look up to, and that is always going to have its place. But if you want to be truly creative, you have to look within. And for me, what I personally align with is not this new digital era that's creeping in. I know it's here to stay and I'm going to have to learn to live with it and adapt to some degree, but I never want it to take over. There's just so much more to life, and sometimes when I think about how this new technology is affecting everyone in the world, it makes me a little sad because people are missing out on what's right in front of them. But it's not all doom and gloom or a losing battle, because at the end of the day, we all have a choice of what we do with our own time. So if you enjoyed this video, if it made you feel something watching it, then rather than like and subscribe and then go on to watching some other video, do yourself a favor and think about going outside for a bit instead. Who knows what you might be missing?